Matthew Denny, yes, you could ask me a question. Sure. Thank you for donating. Thank you for donating 2 times in a row, my dude. I didn't see you did. Sorry. You know, that's the thing. You got to be careful, man. You got to be careful. Because if it's just hearsay and someone said, oh, DSP's not paying his taxes. Oh, he said it himself on stream. All right, then that's different. He said it himself. Oh, why would you say that? Why are you letting your personal business out there, dude? All right, you Rich DSP here. Come on, copy. There we go. We go YouTube. Hold on. I'm going to look at it, guys. Hold on. Someone sent me a link to DSP admitting that he didn't pay. Why would you let people know your personal business like that? All right. Now, I know this is one of his. David Davis is one of his detractors. I don't know if I want to call him
How do I begin? Let's see how I begin.
Here we go. Can I turn this up?
Very, very complicated to do what I do. All right, it is. And every year, it's a nightmare to try to figure out at that one time of the year when I have to figure out, gee, what do I owe taxes on this? Do I owe that? Do I get a refund this year? Do I roll it over?
Can you guys hear this? Hold on. Can you guys hear this?
Can I write off? And so, when I started way back when making money doing YouTube full-time, I got a tax attorney from 2011 to 2014 when I was doing this as a full-time job. My taxes were done through him. I was like, man, I could literally leave the state of Connecticut and move anywhere that doesn't have a state income tax, or I could move to a state that has a much lower income tax and pay less taxes. And what would be the loss? You know, I work from home. I live stream, right? So, you know, what's the big deal if I were to move out of Connecticut and go somewhere else and do this? I'd be basically just making more money doing it because I don't have to pay all these exorbitant taxes that I'm paying in Connecticut. I did some research on what states did not have personal income tax. I started looking for houses. You all remember this. If you're longtime viewers, you remember this. It was like 2013 and then 2014, I actually started house hunting. And at that time, I was in constant communication with my tax attorney saying, gee, you know, what would happen if I were to move, say, to Washington or to Texas or to one of these states that doesn't have a personal income tax? He said, basically, that was it. You just don't pay personal income tax. You just pay the federal. You're good to go. And before I ever took one single step towards buying this house, okay, I up front asked my tax attorney 2 important questions. I said, number 1, are there any other taxes that I'm going to have to pay if I move to the state of Washington outside of the federal income tax? That's number 1. He said, no, it's just the personal federal income tax you'll have to pay. Number 2, I asked him in writing, I still have the fucking email. I said, since I'm moving to Washington State, doesn't it make sense that I should get a tax attorney out here who basically has more knowledge of the state laws and stuff like that? To, you know, they'll be more knowledgeable about that. So basically, I'm going to say goodbye to you. You know, after this year of taxes, once I move to Washington in the summer, you know, I'm going to basically not need your services anymore. And he came back to me and said, oh no, I'm still able to handle all of your tax concerns. No problem whatsoever. You'll still be fine. Okay, right? I'm not.
But Rachel, this is his public video that he put out there.
Not the professional here. He is. This is his job. He's a tax attorney. I'm not even exaggerating, guys. I've paid this guy ridiculous amounts of money. I mean, one year I think I paid him, I'm not exaggerating, $1,500 to do my taxes. And I moved across the country to Washington State as of, what was that? I think it was July 2014. I was told, don't worry about state income taxes anymore. Obviously you're not going to owe Connecticut. You don't live there anymore, right? And
but you have a property.
Deal, just pay the federal and you're good to.
Does he still have that apartment or that condo? If he still has that condo, doesn't that still make him a resident? I don't know how that works.
Go. You know, Everything's fine. No problems or nothing. All right. You're not going to believe this. You're seriously not going to believe this. Because guess what, ladies and gentlemen? This whole situation I'm in, yes, it is. I'll tell you right now. My tax attorney is at fault for some of this stuff to happen. But wait till you hear the full story. You're not going to fucking believe it. Are you ready? So I noticed about early on this year, probably early to middle 2017, I started to get all these extra mailings in the mail. Ads, trade papers. I'm talking like Construction Magazine, Science, Scientist, Doctor, Publishing, right? And I'm looking at this shit like, now I know I didn't subscribe to any of it, and it says on it, on the mailing, addressed to DSP Gaming. Interesting, right? So I start getting all this mail about DSP Gaming. Right now, every 3 days, my mailbox is full. Because whoever this was that did this signed me up for like every possible free publication that there is regarding like business and trade. And I'm getting every 3 days a stack of mail this high that fills the mailbox. So every 3 days I have to go empty the mailbox because someone did this to me. Okay? All of a sudden, oh God, now I can't remember if it was even late August or early September at this point.
What?
All right?
Oh, God.
I get a letter in the mail stating that due to some information that has come across the desk of someone, that they suspect that I, Phil Burnell, own a business called DSP Gaming, and I'm doing business in the state of Washington, but I'm not doing it properly. I never registered the business, which is legally required in the state of Washington, and I'm not paying taxes. In the state of Washington, they have what's apparently, which I don't know, I'm not a tax attorney, it's called, it's some kind of a business, I don't even know the technical thing about it, some kind of a business tax, that if you're self-employed in Washington, and if you fit certain criteria, like you make a certain amount of money, you get income from certain sources, or you receive certain tax documents from the people who you have contractual agreements with, you're required to register as a business and to pay this business tax in the state of Washington.
I agree.
So I get this letter, and I'm looking at it like, what the hell is this, man? Are you serious? Like, what could this be? Could this be true? This is bullshit. And I read it, I'm like, well, I don't own my own business. I don't, I'm not registered. I don't own my own business. I don't. Legally, there's no business out there that's called DSP Gaming. DSP Gaming is just a YouTube channel, right? In addition, there's tons of tax write-offs for the self-employed. For example, anything that I buy that's related to the business, a video game, this controller, the cost of ink for the printer that printed out my questions for Ask the King or has anything business related, the cost of electricity in the house, the cost of the internet for the house, all these things are tax deductible, meaning I have to pay for them, but
not
I cannot
all of
be
your
taxed
electricity
on,
though.
meaning I will not have to pay taxes for the amount of money and
Only
stuff
a
that I spend
percentage
on the business. So if I reinvest money into the business, it helps me because it allows me to pay less taxes on a yearly basis. There's no business called DSP Gaming. It doesn't exist. I called the guy back and left him a voicemail explaining. I said, listen, you got it wrong. I don't own my own business. I'm not buying or selling. I'm not doing a service. It's internet-based videos that people put ads on. It's way different from what you're describing in your letter. Therefore, I don't think I'm qualified under. You don't have to worry about it or whatever. So at that point, I tried to get my tax attorney from Connecticut involved. All right. I tried to say, what's going on here? This guy is saying that maybe I qualify for having to register as a business and pay business tax and all of this. What's going on? I said, I'm just curious. How did this happen? How did you find out about DSP Gaming? Because it's not registered anywhere or anything like that. And he said, well, we got an anonymous tip about a company called DSP Gaming that apparently was operating in Washington State. And the real reason that we got a whiff of you is because you're on a mailing list for small businesses in the state. Like, you were registered on all of them. If you take a look, it's DSP Gaming. It says you're the sole proprietor, and it lists your address, and they signed you up for all of these. I said, well, that makes sense, because that's why I'm getting these contractor magazines. That's why I'm getting all these business-related mailings that I didn't sign up for. That's why I'm getting them all. Someone went out there with my information and registered me as a small business on all these free mailing lists. And then whoever it is that takes care of, the state tax or business tax in Washington got an anonymous tip and went out and looked and said, oh, look at this. If they're registered for these mailings, they must be real. And then they started investigating me. I go to my tax attorney and I say, listen, we got to get you in the loop. You've got to talk to this guy because I don't know anything about this. You told me you were taking care of this when I moved out
He
here.
won't go to
Obviously,
jail.
it sounds like this guy's mistaken.
He won't.
Let's
He'll just
figure
have
this
to
out
work
together.
something out.
It's like an authorization form that my tax attorney would have to fill out in order to communicate with my personal
They'll just end up
info.
working out like
it's
a
like
payment
permission
plan
for
with
him to give my personal info to this guy who's inquiring about business tax. Okay, I send him the form and he goes, Phil, I don't know if I'm comfortable filling out this form. I really feel that at this point, since it seems like, you know, this might be something serious, you should get a tax attorney in the state of Washington. And I'm like, what the fuck? Are you fucking serious? You do not have to get another attorney. I will still be your tax attorney. He's taking on all that responsibility for me moving and doing my taxes properly in the state of Washington. Literally says, well, I think you should just get another tax attorney now in Washington.
I don't.
So
That's the main thing I'm not buying completely. Why would his tax attorney from a different state not tell him to get a different tax attorney? That's the biggest. Everything else, it's like not that big a deal. But what's up? Why would your tax attorney from a different state who may not know all the laws from a state across the country not tell you to get a different tax attorney? That just
as politely as I
doesn't make any
could,
sense.
because it wasn't very polite. And I told him, absolutely not. You're responsible for this. You were the one. I have it in writing. You can't try to, weasel your way out of it. I have it in writing,
in a second, Matthew,
stating
Danny.
that you were taking on this
Thank
responsibility.
you for donating.
And I think that you need to fill out this form and start talking to this guy right away. What's the liability on the tax attorney who screwed up? And I found my answers. The answers are simple. Basically, I'm responsible for the money, the actual tax money. I would be responsible 100% for the tax money that's owed to the state. Okay, no matter what, because I owed it if I owed it. All right, I could sue my former tax attorney. So basically, I'm shot. Like, I don't know how I could get anything out of my former tax attorney because I don't have, number one, I just told you guys, I'm strapped for cash. I'm literally living paycheck to paycheck. I have just enough money to pay for everything I need to pay for. How am I going to have enough money and time to sue this guy when I have to keep streaming and keep paying the bills and everything? It's not possible. I can't do it. The other thing I did is I got a new tax attorney. All right. No lie. I'm not going to lie. $800 just to retain the services of this attorney, which I don't have. I had to put it, guess what? On a credit card. Had a meeting with this tax attorney. Didn't tell you guys, but this was all happening behind the scenes. This is what I mean. All this shit was happening behind the scenes for months. And basically the tax attorney told me he thinks I do owe some kind of business tax. It's going to be a chunk of money, all right, that apparently I'm going to owe. And the question is, what's the amount going to be? We don't know. It's probably, and he gave me an estimate. He says, just a rough estimate. It's going to be thousands and thousands of dollars. It's not going to be $10,000, but it could be thousands of dollars. And the problem is with the interest, fees, all that's going to be associated with not paying this for years, it could end up being way more. It could balloon because of that. I was like, listen, sorry, I just don't have the money. Like, if you right now put down
all right, so
a 5 to 7...
Phil, if you're watching this, I wouldn't lose any sleep over this, man. Yeah, it's going to hurt your credit score, but all that's going to happen is they're just going to make you do a payment plan. You're going to have to pay a set amount of money every month, and that's it. Yeah, I don't know how much he's lying, how much he's true. The big thing the main thing that really, 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 really stuck out to me there, guys, was that Phil said that, oh, my tax attorney from a different state told me not to get a tax attorney in a new state. No, of course they wouldn't say that to you, dude. They would tell you to get a different tax attorney because they don't know the bylaws of the different state and how businesses are run there. So that's really it. Everything else he said wasn't like too damning, but why would you let your subscribers know about your personal financial issues like that? I don't get it. It's not their issue, man. It's not. Silly Phil. Sean McCarthy. Moral of the story: don't ask DSP for tax advice. Yeah, don't ask him for tax advice. He's not as in deep trouble as he either is trying to pander to his base or he may not be. He may just be nervous. I don't want to always think that DSP is, being a bad guy. I think sometimes he just does things and doesn't think about what he's doing. He probably is nervous, but I'm telling you, the worst that's going to happen to him, I guarantee it, is he's going to have to work with the state of Washington, and they're going to work out a payment plan. He'll have to pay like $200 a month to the state, and it'll hit his credit score, and he'll live, and he'll be fine. So, yeah, don't ask DSP for tax advice ever. Philip Stafford, he always blames other entities except himself. Yeah, Philip. So Matthew, Sean, and Philip, thank you for donating. Yeah, I've noticed he doesn't really take blame much, like ever. So, I don't think Phil is like, a lot of people think he's a shitty dude and just a terrible guy. I think he just made a bunch of terrible decisions in terms of his YouTube business. And it's just, people don't forget, man. I mean, there's things that even the small amount of things, people may not say they're small. That's your opinion if you think what I did is heinous and horrible. Even the small amount of mistakes that I made, people do not forget anything. And once you've made those mistakes, that's it. And I think, this Phil's an example of, being in the public eye, and as much as people think it's pretentious to say that, but it's true. Being in the public eye kicks your ass, man, because no one ever forgets anything. No one forgets a damn thing ever.